In fact, investigators identified an individual as a roommate of Robinson. However, what they don't want you to know is that this is a video of Tyler Robinson getting a letter that would begin the radicalization of Tyler Robinson. Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. Here we are, day 3, and we finally know exactly who it was that assassinated Charlie Kirk. I'm going to show you all of the relevant and up-to-date information on who exactly this murderer is. And let me just say that it's worse than you thought. Hey, if you get value from this video, would you consider hitting that thumbs up button? You know when you like this video to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. Before I show you exactly who the assassin is, I want to quickly just remind you of what the left stole from a wife, from 2 children who will grow up without their father. Here they are unloading the casket with Charlie in it. And you can see, think about how this woman feels right now watching her dead husband being carried in a casket because the left have been allowed to be radicalized to this point. In fact, here's a picture of her in Arizona after making it back home. She is holding the necklace of her husband, Charlie Kirk, out the window. Just think about how she must be feeling right now. Think about it. Let it do what it needs to do to you to wake you up. But ultimately, the message that Erica would want you to hear is the very message that Charlie would want you to hear. If he could say one last thing, it would be this: Jesus defeated death so you can live. That the reason that they hated Charlie Kirk so much was because he pointed to Jesus, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through him. And it is only through a relationship with Jesus Christ that you can find peace, joy, happiness, contentment, meaning, and truth. Now, this is the assassin here. His name is Tyler Robinson. His mugshot was just released this morning. Here it is. Side angle as well. This is a man that had been radicalized over the last few years after going to college. In fact, I'm going to show you more about that in just a second. But this is a picture of Tyler Robinson with his dad. This is his father right here on the left. This is a man that served on the police force for almost 30 years. And reports are coming out that Tyler Robinson's father was actually a minister as well. I don't know what kind of minister. Don't have that information yet. In fact, it was his dad that turned him in after Tyler Robinson made it back home after assassinating Charlie Kirk. In fact, the left is just going wild right now, saying this was a MAGA guy. This is proof. Look at this picture of Tyler Robinson from 8 years ago. On a Halloween picture where he's wearing a Trump costume. It's a costume where it looks like he's riding on the shoulders of Donald Trump. And the left is literally doing everything they can to try to convince you that Tyler Robinson was actually a MAGA conservative. See, look, when he was 14, he wore a Donald Trump costume to go trick-or-treating. And his dad was in law enforcement. However, what they don't want you to know is that this is a video of Tyler Robinson getting a letter that would begin the radicalization of Tyler Robinson.
Congratulations, you have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
This is Tyler Robinson getting a scholarship to go and be indoctrinated by a university. College, universities, but not just them. Talking about high school, middle school, elementary school, you name it. If it's a public school, it is ground zero for the spiritual, mental, and emotional death of your children. Now, we know this from Tyler Robinson's family, okay? His family says he turned to left-wing activism and rejected the values he was raised with. expressed intensely anti-conservative views at a recent family dinner. I'm going to show you some leaked police documents that prove this as well. He was active in Antifa Discord servers. I don't know why Antifa hasn't been designated a terror organization. They are a terror organization that is allowed to roam free in the streets. He convinced himself that Charlie Kirk was a fascist who was spreading hate. Left Antifa slogans and rhetoric at the crime scene. This has been proven, and I'm going to show you more about that in just a second as well. He's the son of a sheriff, the same father who turned him in when it was evident that he was the assassin. Now, I want you to listen to a little bit of this where they describe what they found, and then I'm going to show you some evidence that proves just how radical Tyler Robinson had become, and that this is all connected to him being radicalized and indoctrinated by left-wing ideology.
Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! ! Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
It's an Antifa symbol. And this is what was left, anti-racist, anti-fascist, yet they are these two things literally. They are literally these things, yet they claim to stand against racism, fascism. Not only that, but I want you to notice that some people aren't quite understanding what it means that he wrote "notices bulges" and OWO. What these phrases are LGB furry references because of the furry subculture, which the furry subculture, again, are radical left, mentally ill people who dress up like this, and it's weird. But we have to coddle them, and we have to affirm them in their illness, because that's the accepting and loving thing to do. You know, there's this document that Steven Crowder actually just released that shows that internal police documents, his arrest record shows that this is a radical leftist. Investigators interviewed the family member of Robinson, who Robinson was talking to about this, who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to the September 10th assassination, and in conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they, keep that in mind, they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. In fact, investigators identified an individual as a roommate of Robinson. We need to know everything about this roommate. Investigators interviewed the roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush. Messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and messages referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also referred to engraving bullets and mentioned, so just proving literally everything. And messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. All of this has already been shown and proven. This just backs it up. And so this is something where there were other people involved. Now, the police are saying that so far, nobody else is involved. It's just Tyler. But there was a decoy there that got arrested. All these other people that he was talking with on this Antifa Discord server, they just get away with it because they didn't pull the trigger? No, these are sick and twisted, demonic, satanic individuals that must be held accountable, because these are the same kind of people that will do what Tyler did, even if it takes just a little more radicalization. And all it's going to take is for us to continue to sit back, quietly allowing the left to continue to indoctrinate our children, our young men and women, and not say or do anything about it. We need more Charlie Kirks at these universities, fighting back with truth and with the message of the gospel. Matt Walsh said there is now no doubt, as if there was any doubt, that this was a targeted political assassination by a leftist militant who had been radicalized by left-wing propaganda. Political violence is nearly exclusively a left-wing problem. It is a tool of their trade. In fact, Ron Filipkowski, one of the most radical people you'll ever hear. So after days of Republicans blaming and vilifying Democrats and Twan people for Kirk's murder, despite having no clue who the person was, we find out it's a white guy from a Republican family in Utah who loved guns. As if how does this change anything about how radical this guy was? Again, the left, this is all they can do, is say, yeah, but he came from this family. This is why it's worse than you could have thought. Because, like even Walsh says here, yes, he was from a nice Republican family and yet was still radicalized into left-wing extremism. That makes it even worse. It does. Your children aren't safe because you aren't a radical leftist, unfortunately. The Bible tells us that we should raise our children, lead them in the way that they should go. But that doesn't mean that if you take a child that you raised biblically, you raise them in the truth, that if you were to send them off to an indoctrination factory, that they won't come back indoctrinated. Like Vodi Bakum said, how can we expect to send our children off to Caesar to be educated and not expect them to return as a Roman? In fact, this was just after Charlie Kirk's assassination. And here is a college campus.
We're here at Georgia Tech University in Atlanta, Georgia. And the first thing I see when I come to the campus is the fall of the Trump fascist regime beginning November.
Okay, so I can't play the sound because there's actually a song behind it I had to try to take out, but it muffs up the audio. And so, but the point is that he's saying, look at what universities are doing the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination. The fall of the Trump fascist regime. Tyler was indoctrinated and turned into one of these insane lunatics. Look at Romans chapter 1, verse 16. It says, Paul says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith. As it is written, the righteous shall live by faith." And this chapter actually goes on to talk about how the wrath of God has been revealed from heaven against all ungodliness, unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. That is exactly what we're seeing from the left. From these people that want to destroy our society, that are led by Satan. They want to suppress the truth, and we're seeing what the consequences are of that. And again, these are people in our universities who claim to be wise, as verse 22 says here, but they are fools, and they do all of these absolutely disgusting, demonic things. And the Bible says that they have been given over to these things because they did not see fit to acknowledge God, as verse 28 says here. So God gave them up to a debased mind, which means their mind is unfit. It doesn't work properly. And what happens when you are given over to a debased mind? You become all of these things that it mentions in the following verses, these horrid things, to where you even become an inventor of evil because you are no longer satisfied with these other evil things you're doing. It must progress. So you invent new ways of doing evil, and we're seeing the consequences. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community. I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And please hit that thumbs up button. You know when you like this video, to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.